It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. That's the way it starts with an earthquake, birds, snakes, and aeroplanes. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane, listen to yourself, turn worlds at its own needs. Dummies of your own needs, speed it up and not speed, but no street. The ladder starts to clatter with the fear fight down. Right fire in a fire, represent the southern gangs and the government for hire in a combat site. Lester wasn't coming in a hurry with the furies breathing down your neck. Team reporters grab the drum, clear the ground, look at that low plane flying. Then overflow, population corner blue, but it'll lose. See yourself in series 7 worlds in your own need. Listen to your heartbeat. Tell me that the Reds are in the reverend with the right. You patriotic slam fight right. I'm feeling pretty psyched. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. Oh, 6 o'clock TV hour, look at foreign tower session, Marie turn, listen to yourself, journal, a committee, uniform, a book of burning, but letting every motive escalate, not a motive, sitting right, not a motive, but I can't step down, watch your heel crush, up, all this means no fear, cavalier, renegade, steer clear, tournament of lies, you offer me solutions and offer me alternatives, and I decline. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. The other NATO to define, Connor NATO to define, Mount Saying, Innerline, Leonard, Bernstein, Leonard, Brezhnev, Lenny, Bruce, and Mr. Becky, birthday party, cheesecake, a jelly bean, boom. Patriotic, slam, foot, next set, right. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. Oh, it's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
Yes, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine, Doomsters. Welcome back to Music for the End of the World here on 93.7 Edge FM, here in the lovely Bega Valley. Once again, I'm here, Chris, and I am flying solo tonight. And I have a whole bunch of super sounds from the 70s. That's what the music theme is tonight. Apart from the gimmies, of course. We always play a gimme song. But the rest is K-Billy's super sounds of the 70s. And if you haven't seen the movie Reservoir Dogs by Tarantino, then you wouldn't know who K-Billy is. But that's a soundtrack for Reservoir Dogs. Okay, tonight, what am I going to be ranting on about? Well, mainly I think I'll be talking... Well, I want to go through... It's a bit of a... not momentous, but an occasion to be marked when a scientist or a science journalist makes a big leap and tells it like it is, basically. We're in collapse. There's no way out of it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And David Suzuki has done that. But it has come to my notice that Julian Cripps, who is a Australian science writer, he's written 6 books, I think, on the human existential emergency. His latest one was written in 2023, I think, which is called How to Fix a Broken Planet. And I'm just going to be going through his latest article, where he actually talks about collapse in a realistic way, as in there is no going back. So I'll be talking a little bit about that. If I have time, I might get into why we don't see that too often, that those views represented too often in the mainstream media. And it's not because we're crazy, it's because the system is designed not to tell us that. And this is an article, where I get this off, Global Collapse Awareness Group. And so I might be talking a little bit about that, I think. But other than that, it's a regular Wednesday night. So let's start off. I need to get a coffee. Let's start off with a song. And of course, K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s would not be complete without Little Green Bag by the George Baker Selection. Yes, Little Green Bag by the George Baker Selection. That was great tune from the 70s. Now, before we get into this article by Julian Cripps, I came across another post through some of the people that I read about our predicament, Kevin, and he raises a point which I hadn't really thought of before, but he writes that it's common sense that there's a link between peak oil and peak food, because most of the food in the West is grown on industrial scales with industrial machinery used for harvesting and transportation to market. So it makes sense. Peak oil will affect peak food. Also, he goes on to say that increased levels of CO2 reduce the nutritional value of crops. Inclement weather also, particularly harvest times and planting times, impacts the quantity and the quality of the crops harvested. And also, as the level of CO2 increases in the atmosphere, this is something I hadn't come across before, our cognitive abilities decline. And we might talk about this in another show. I wasn't aware that CO2 had some sort of effect on our cognitive abilities. And of course, this is what really struck me, though, about this little post, was that, as is always the case, he writes, the poorer people in our communities with the lowest disposable incomes will be able to buy less and less food that contains less and less nutritional value. So obviously climate change, which is a symptom of ecological overshoot, is also clearly a class war issue. It's initially a war against the poor. And as Kevin says, no one, either flora nor fauna, survives war uninjured. So yes, I never thought about it being actually a class war, but it is, because I mean it's the poorer people globally and then in individual countries which get hammered first and hardest. So it definitely is a class issue. Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Kevin. And if you're interested in looking at that peak oil and peak food, Guy McPherson's got a little article on his website, Nature Bats Last, I think. He's got a Substack there. Peak food production draws near is what is the title of Guy's article. Okay, up to Julian's article. Now, I hadn't come across Julian Cripps before, though I think I probably have read one or two of his articles without actually knowing that he'd written them. And the title is Died of a Delusion, The Fate of Modern Civilization. And he writes, and this was done October the 1st this year, so fairly recent. I think it's his latest article. He says that the collapse of modern human civilization is inevitable, and anyone who doesn't accept that knows no history. Because on this planet it's happened at least 90 times so far to past civilizations and 400 societies. The crucial question today is, when will the epochal world event take place? And as we know, collapse is happening right now all around, and as we have said before, it will happen at different speeds in different places to different people. So beyond that, we can be sure that modern society, Julian writes, will be completely unprepared, despite numerous warnings from scientists and historians who have studied the evidence closely over the past century. Collapse will almost certainly come as a dreadful shock to most people, engendering global panic, mass migration, societal failure, wars, plagues, and probably far worse. Wealth will vanish in the blink of an eye, as will food. Different scholars hold varying views about the chief drivers of this impending self-inflicted collapse, Julian calls it. Climate catastrophe, global food failure, extinction, overpopulation, overconsumption, nuclear war, universal toxic pollution, AI, global economic crash, energy shortfall are among the popular precipitators. But each, however, depicts only a single facet of what is plainly a multifaceted, catastrophic emergency, or a polycrisis, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's just ecological overshoot, isn't it? Everything is connected, as we talk about it on this show every week. It's ecological overshoot. Too many of us consuming too much, putting out too much waste for the planet. So who knows what it could be. Another thing is certain, Julian writes, no government anywhere has a plan for dealing with collapse, whatever its causes or outcomes. I don't think, well, I'd be very interested to hear from anyone who has heard a politician speak about this particular subject anywhere in the world. Most politicians, Julian writes, in their dysfunction, do not even recognise its imminence. And while a few individuals may have built doomsday shelters to retreat into, e.g. the billionaires, those offer no guarantees of survival beyond a few more weeks, really. Because what can live on a 60-degree planet? I always wondered about that because I have spoken to a few politicians, and I posed a question to our local member down here, Miss McBain, and about have you heard of ecological overshoot? Do you know what it is? Do you understand what it is? I'm waiting for a reply. Because surely politicians have access to the latest, most informed information about things like this. Surely, I would have thought. And maybe you think, are they just ignorant, or are they deliberately not speaking out because of whatever reason? Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Julian goes on to say that in the past, civilizations mainly fell as a result of food failure, structural failure, institutional failure, disease and climate change. Okay. The popular image of hordes of invading barbarians tends to be a consequence, not a cause of civilizational collapse. And that sounds about right to me. Okay, I need to get a refill of my coffee. So let's have some music. What are we going to have? Well, when I was looking at Super Sounds of the 70s, oh my gosh, there's so many great songs. But I have gone with some of my faves, and this one is Mary Jane's Last Dance by the late, great Tom Petty.
Tall and she grew up right with them Indiana boys on an Indiana night. But she moved down here at the age of 18. She blew the boys away, it was more than they'd seen. I was introduced and we both started grooving. She said, I dig you, baby, but I got to keep moving on. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. I've been told you never slow down, you never grow old. I'm tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Honey, put on that party dress, buy me a drink, sing me a song, take me as I come, cause I can't stay long. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. Summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. Market Square, she's standing in her underwear, looking down from a hotel room. And I nightfall will be coming soon. Oh my, oh hell yes. You got to put on that party dress. It was too cold to cry when I woke up alone. I hit my last number, I walked to the road. Last dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again.
Oh, yes. Tom Petty, Mary Jane's Last Dance. Another cracker of a song from the decade of the 70s. The greatest musical decade, I think. That's just my opinion. All right, back to Julian's article. Now, he goes on to mention that the British historian Arnold Toynbee, in his epic 12-volume survey of 23 civilizations, concluded that the major cause of collapse was a failure of the creative impulse which had built them. In his view, civilizations encounter external and internal challenges that prompt creative, adaptive responses, which lead to their expansion. And after this comes an inevitable cycle of oligarchy. That's the concentration of power in a few selfish hands. Sound familiar? Followed by moral and physical decline. Just look at the rise of fascism. And systemic collapse. Toynbee is best known, Julian says, for his aphorism that civilizations die from suicide, not by murder, which distills his view that decline and fall are usually self-inflicted and self-chosen, and rarely the result of outside forces. And so it may be with modern global civilization, which despite its strong technological, economic and communication ties, lacks the cultural, moral, linguistic and ideological binding that underpinned previous imperias. In other words, our modern world is more fragile even than any preceding civilization. The things that connect us will ensure that it all goes down together. Because everything is... globalization has connected everything around the globe. And it's very hard for countries to exist in their own little bubble. Yeah, so I reckon the things that connect us will ensure that we all go down together. A historical parallel, Julian writes, is the late Bronze Age collapse about 3,500 years ago, 3,200 years ago, in which 7 major civilizations located around the eastern Mediterranean, Turkey and North Africa, all fell at the same time. And they were all closely connected by trade, intermarriage and war, and there may have been multiple causes of their fall, climactic change high amongst them. So that's interesting by Toynbee. And Julian goes on over that he's written several books and countless articles describing the main drivers of contemporary collapse, as the world's leading scientific minds understand them so that society may prepare for the worst and minimise the damage to our children and grandchildren. But he says, so far, to no avail. This work, articulated by the Council for the Human Future, identified 10 catastrophic risks or mega threats. And we will have a look at those. We'll talk about those catastrophic and mega threats right after our next song. But before we have our next song, I think it could be time for some very important messages from our lovely sponsors.
Are you looking for a quality new or used car? You can't go past the South Coast's premium motor dealers, Rondoyle Motors and Eden Mazda, at 113 Princes Highway, Eden. They are dealers for Mazda, Isuzu and Nissan, as well as having a great range of quality used cars and full workshop and parts facilities. Rondoyle Motors and Eden Mazda are well known for their outstanding customer service and excellent workshop. Give them a call on 64961420 or check out the website at rondoylemotors.com.au. Rondoyle Motors and Eden Mazda are sponsors of 93.7 Edge FM.
Tathra Tyres and Auto have been servicing motor vehicles in Tathra since 1993. Ron, Paddy and Matt are proud supporters of Bega's community radio station, 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you, dear sponsors. All right. Back to our talking about Julian's article. And now I just see a friend text in saying, well, yes, most civilizations have been dying by suicide rather than something that's been inflicted on them. And they said, well, except unless we get hit by an asteroid, which is true. That's an outside force. And in some ways, maybe, rather than ecological overshoot, an asteroid hurtling towards Earth to blast us into oblivion would be easier for people to understand. Although, if you look at the movie Don't Look Up, maybe everyone just walks around with their looking down on the ground. Because our human cognitive dissonance is a powerful beast. All right, the 10 catastrophic risks or mega threats by the Council for the Human Future. They have identified resource scarcity, particularly fresh water, soil, forest, fish and certain minerals. Decline of the Earth's life support systems. And we can read into that the planetary boundaries. Nuclear war, of course. Hothouse Earth. Global warming. Food insecurity. Global poisoning. Just think of all the forever chemicals, microplastics. Overpopulation, well, yeah, that's happened. Pandemic disease, uncontrolled technologies, look at AI. And misinformation delusion, just look at the mainstream media. The thing is, though, that all these threats they've identified are interconnected and can't be separated, meaning that they can't be solved one at a time, which is what we're obsessed with doing if you look at CO2 emissions. Collectively, they present the greatest emergency in all of human history, which isn't very long, affecting every society on Earth. Consequently, global collapse and human survival must be addressed as a single challenge. And its various solutions must work in ways that make none of the component threats worse. But this appears too large a problem for the limited understanding of the typical nation state or government, unable to see beyond their own borders and narrow self-interest to the greater good of humanity. Yes, they're too concerned about the next election rather than actually what's the right thing to do. So they were the 10 ones, and we've spoken about many of them on the show. And who knows, man? You can roll the dice and figure which one's going to be the big kicker. Who knows? All we do know is that there's going to be combinations of them, and no one is immune from it. Okay, Doomsters, you're listening to Music for the End of the World. I'm Chris. I'm here by myself tonight, and we're talking about Julian Cripps' latest article, which of course is called Died of a Delusion, The Fate of Modern Civilization. And we'll continue talking about that in a minute. I'm a bit down, I'm a bit flat tonight. You know, Doomster's what it's like. You know, you go through those stages of grief and you go up and down, and now I'm a bit down tonight. I'm not so upbeat. That's just how it is when you are living in reality. That's why it's important to have people you can talk to. That's why one good thing about the internet is that you can get in contact with people who think and feel the same as yourself. Of course, it's always better to have people around you personally, but for some people, for some of us I know, it is not possible. Even our own families think we're a little bit strange. Talking about collapse and the end of the world as we know it. So it's really important to try and get some communication avenues happening for your mental health. Okay, another super sound of the 70s. It is 7:30 here in the Bega Valley. All right, what are we going to have? Let's have... Here's one. I was going to play the Eagles, but I'm not playing the Eagles. But I will play a Joe Walsh tune, who was in the Eagles. And this one is Rocky Mountain Way, one of my favourites by Joe Walsh. Yes, Rocky Mountain Way, Joe Walsh. My favourite Eagle. Another super sound from the 70s. Okay, back to Julian Cripps' article. So he's saying that collapse theory, or doomerism, or collapsitarianism, call it what you will, is on the rise worldwide as more and more individuals come to the realization, in the face of overwhelming scientific proofs, that the resources that underpin modern civilization cannot be sustained in the face of the human lust for growth. I mean, infinite growth on a finite planet. You don't need to be a science major to understand that. But collapse awareness is restricted to a very small, educated and scientifically literate segment of the world populace, Julian argues. The bulk of humanity remains unaware or indifferent, content to accept its fate and to sacrifice its children. As many scientists have pointed out, including the Club of Rome, Paul Ehrlich, Martin Rees, Johann Schellnhuber, Johann Rockström, Naomi Oreskes, William Catton, Matthias Wackenagel, and lots more, Bill Reed, there's a whole bunch of them, Guy McPherson. The Earth's finite resources can probably support about 2 billion people living at today's consumption levels, long term. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, 2 billion seems a lot to me, but anyway. And we have over 8 billion, soon to be 10. There are many cases in nature and history where overpopulation has led to collapse. Humans are not unique. And as we have spoken about it before with different examples, I think there was a deer population on one of the islands in the Great Lakes, and there's been a few different cases. So we're not unique. But our current population, the thing that is really lifted, makes Homo sapiens a little bit different to the other species, is that we have used technology, chiefly fossil fuels, agriculture and money, to try to achieve the impossible, perpetual growth on a finite world. And at some point, of course, the Earth system invariably self-corrects. As it does. Nature doesn't play ball. Of the various causes of collapse, the one most overlooked and potentially the most harmful is delusion. And this is where it gets interesting by Julian. The capacity of humans to believe whatever they wish, regardless of the facts. A species that does not believe it is in danger is very unlikely to avoid it. And, I mean, just look around you. In the Western world, even. Just look. The capacity of humans to believe absolute crap. Complete lies. Doesn't matter. So, yeah, we're stuffed, people. We're completely stuffed. The primary causes of collapse are therefore the four main human delusions: money, politics, religion, and the false narratives we tell ourselves, e.g. that we are wise. These delusions all fail when they come up against the hard facts of the physical world. That's right. Though often not without a struggle, as people generally cling to their empty beliefs as long as they can. Yes, people don't like their beliefs questioned or put into doubt, and they will hang on as long as they can. Many people, Julian writes, for example, cannot comprehend the vast increases in population and material consumption that have occurred in the past 50 years. That's like within my lifetime. As I've said before, I think the world population when I was born in the 60s was 3.2 billion, 3 point something billion, and now it's more than double. It's over 8 billion now. And for those many people, the world today is much the same as the ones they knew when they were growing up. So they have no idea of the scale of the impending disaster driven by overpopulation and overconsumption, e.g. ecological overshoot. And this, more than any other factor, magnifies its likelihood that we will be heading for extinction. The problem that science faces, Julian writes, in sounding its many warnings about the danger of catastrophe is that, and here's a good one, religion got there first. Because without any factual basis, countless prophets, seers, and theologies have foretold human doom. And everyone has proven to be wrong. Mainly for the excellent reason that they had no basis in reality. Because it's a religion. It's just a delusion. So ordinary people often have trouble in telling the difference between another false prophecy, usually designed to attract followers or money to a sect or a cult, and a genuine forecast based on substantive, validated evidence. This is how false beliefs can kill society, Julian writes. And how true that is. People, it's the whole misinformation, disinformation thing, isn't it? Because that's the argument you get all the time. Oh, no, it's just misinformation. It's not true. Ecological overshoot. No, that's just misinformation. Because they're so used to it, because everything is misinformation. And like Julian says, that's how false beliefs can kill a society. Another way is by the narcissistic and psychopathic qualities of leaders. Wow. He's spot on the ball there, like Trump or Putin. All are pursuing policies that will cause the collapse not only of their own countries, but of global civilization generally, quicker, much quicker than needs to be. And then, of course, there's money or economics. That's a huge delusion preached by the super rich, of course, and their servants, that the earth is inexhaustible, that growth can go on forever. All physical evidence to the contrary, though, no matter whom or what it destroys. Think of Musk and Ellison and Bezos and stuff, all these people saying, oh, you must have more children. Have 5, 6 kids. I mean, that's complete insanity. Because society is inured to false prophets. Many unthinking citizens demand that a firm date be set on collapse. Well, when are we going to collapse? But due to the complex interaction of these big megathreats, these 10 megathreats that have been listed, this is simply not possible. However, as we know, Doomsters, the process is well underway, and the slide off a cliff steepens dramatically when certain things happen. And we're going to look at some of those factors right after some more. Oh, another very important announcement from our lovely Fair Dinkum Builds, another sponsor here of Edge FM.
You might be familiar with Coastal Country Sheds and Garages, but now you'll notice the name has changed to Fair Dinkum Builds Bega Valley. A little change that goes a long way for our customers. We'll always be your local experts when it comes to building commercial premises with flexible builds, quality material and great service. And we're stepping things up even further. For you, for keeps. Search Fair Dinkum Builds today or drop by and see us at 3 West Street, North Bega.
Fair Dinkum Builds Bega Valley is the long-time sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you very much, Fair Dinkum Builds. All right, Doomsters, it's coming up to 1:15, and of course we always play the gimmies on this show, and we've just had unseasonably warm weather in the last week or so. Been very sunny, no rain, so I think it's appropriate to play the gimme song, Seasons in the Sun.
Goodbye to you, my trusted friend. We've known each other since we were 9 or 10. Together we've climbed hills and trees, learned to love and ABC, skinned our hearts and skinned our knees. Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die when all the birds are singing in the sky. Now that spring is in the air, girls are everywhere. Think of me and I'll be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the hills that we climbed were the seasons out of time. Goodbye, Papa, please pray for me. I was the black sheep of the family. You tried to teach me right from wrong. Too much wine and too much song. Wonder how I got along. Goodbye, Papa, it's hard to die when all the birds are singing in the sky. Now that spring is in the air, little children everywhere. When you see them, I'll be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the wine and the song like the seasons are all gone. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the wine and the song like the seasons have all gone. Goodbye, Rochelle, my little one. You gave me love and helped me find the sun. And every time that I was down, you would always come around and get my feet back on the ground. Goodbye, Rochelle, it's hard to die when all the birds are singing in the sky. Now that spring is in the air, with the flowers everywhere, I wish that we could both be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the stars we could reach were the starfish on the beach. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the stars we could reach were the starfish on the beach. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the wine and the song like the seasons have all gone. All our lives we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the hills that we climbed were just seasons out of time.
Yo, the Gimmies. Oh, we love them. Yep, that was Seasons in the Sun. What album was it off? I'm not sure what album it was off, but anyway, another great tune by the Gimmies. Ooh, coming up to 12 minutes. Back to Julian's article. Now, he writes that the process is well underway, as we know, Doomsters. And he says that the slide towards the end of the world as we know it dramatically steepens when, and he's got a list of a few different things here, global food supplies become more insecure. Oh, yeah. And they're already doing that. Countries start to run out of water. Well, that's happening too. I was reading an article about Iran and Iraq. Both got big water problems. Some idiot releases an atomic bomb. Well, you know, that could happen any time. New coal, gas or oil resources are tapped. Well, look no further than Australia. We're pretty good at tapping new gas resources. Chemical damage to the human brain attains pandemic levels. Well, let's see. We know that the forever chemicals and the microplastics are everywhere. Even in our lovely rainwater that we drink at our house, there are microplastics and forever chemicals in there. It's just the quantity of them, I suppose, racking up in your brain. Key climate tipping points are past. Well, we know that. We've gone past a whole bunch of tipping points, including the Arctic, loss of ice, the melting glaciers, ocean acidification, a whole bunch of different ones. We've gone past tipping points. AI takes over most jobs and spies on everyone. Well, who knows? Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Mass delusion takes over and starts to collapse countries. And his example is the US. And you've got to say that's pretty true. It is mass delusion, isn't it? Anyone who thinks Trump actually cares about people is under a delusion. Anyone who thinks any billionaire cares about people is under delusion. That's why they're billionaires. We all know they're sociopaths. Some idiot creates a super plague virus. Or the last one he's got is the world population continues to expand. Well, so it is. Even though our global fertility rate is going down, the population is still expanding, just not at a greater speed. And Julian writes, all of these factors are man-made. They bear out Toynbee's hypothesis that our civilization will die by its own hand. It is a doom of our own making, Doomsters, as we all know. Of course, some people have caused more than others. And sooner rather than later, Julian says. All of them consist of realities that humans collectively and governments especially prefer not to face. They don't talk about these things. He's got a little bit of hope here at the end. He says, it may not be too late yet to save a large part of modern civilization, but in another few years it probably will be. Died of a delusion seems a fitting epitaph for our civilization's tombstone. Yeah, that's the only part I don't agree with Julie on. It's way too late, man. Doesn't matter. Humans could disappear from the planet tomorrow and it's still going down the gurgler. Most species are still going to die, go extinct. Because the temperature, global warming, is not stopping. It won't stop. Not for a long time. And as we know, living things need a stable, certain temperature range to be able to survive. Not much lives in 60-degree heat. Okay, so that was by Julian Cripps. Now, if you're interested, listeners, to have a look at it, it is on the net, Pearls and Irritations, John Menandu's Public Policy Journal. That's where you will find it. Julian Cripps article. Yes, Doomsters. Another scientist, well, actually, sorry, I should say science journalist, has come out and said it like it is. I've noticed a few more people coming out and doing that. Still waiting for Mr. Attenborough. He hasn't said anything. I'm surprised. I don't know why, but anyway. Okay. Oh, we've got 8 minutes left. Not that much longer. So I don't really have much time to talk about how the media hide collapse. But I did want to say, when we were talking about scientists, this article has got a whole bunch of different scientists, for example, and quotes from them. So this one from James Hansen, who used to be at NASA. He was the head scientist at NASA. In my experience, the pressure on scientists is to downplay risks. If I were working for NASA now, my statements would have to go through government clearance and would be watered down. That was back in 2006. Editors are reluctant to publish anything that might seem too dramatic. There is a systemic bias towards underestimating risks. That's by James Hansen. That was from 2012, the last article. Then we have, what have we got? Pete Wadhams from Cambridge. He says, I have colleagues who know the Arctic is changing much faster than models predict, but they won't say so publicly because it might affect their funding or reputation. That was from 2017, quoted in The Independent. Dr. Jennifer Francis, who's an atmospheric scientist, there's a real reluctance to say how bad things could get because we're worried about being labelled alarmist or hurting our credibility. That's from 2018, by Dr. Jennifer Francis. Dr. Michael Mann, the peer review process can be overly conservative. It tends to favour the status quo and downplay outlier, but potentially more accurate findings. That was in 2017. Dr. Jason Box from the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. If even a small fraction of Arctic seafloor carbon is released, we're fucked. Scientists must not communicate this fact. Why? Because it will cause panic. That's from 2013. Dr. Phil Jones, the University of East Anglia. We've been pressured not to reveal certain worst-case findings for fear of political backlash or funding cuts. That was from 2010. Dr. Robert Watson, he was a former chair of the IPCC. We don't want to scare the public, so we end up with language that's more cautious than what we actually believe is likely. That's from 2012. Dr. Kevin Anderson, what's he saying? Those who are honest about the scale of the challenge are marginalised. The scientific community is self-censoring because the implications are so radical. That was from Clive News Network in 2015. Dr. Gavin Schmidt, who was director of NASA. Is he director of NASA now? It's not alarmism, it's realism. But to get published, you have to tone down the warnings. That was in 2018. Emily Atkin. I left mainstream outlets because editors would kill stories that felt too extreme. Oh, she's a science journalist, even with the facts right in front of them. And David Wallace Wells, another writer. Editors and publishers resist publishing worst-case scenarios, even when scientists privately say it's plausible. The public is shielded from the truth to avoid alarmism. And then the USGC Chief Scientist for Climate, Virginia Bucket, filed a whistleblower complaint after being sidelined and demoted for resisting anti-science actions in the agency. Yeah. So, you know, scientists are saying things. It's just the media is refusing to publish a lot of them. So we're going to be talking a little bit about why the media is not publishing them next week, I think. We don't have that much time now because it's almost 8 o'clock. Thanks for listening, Doomsters. Take care of yourselves. Foster those relationships, particularly the local community relationships, because they're the people that you will be with when collapse gets real tricky. And as I always like to say, collapse is inevitable, but justice is not. So we still have the opportunity to live a good life. All right. I'll see you next week, hopefully with Cass. She's on her way to the Northern Rivers. And she requested this song, so this is a big shout out to Cass. This is for you, babe. It's not from the 70s, but because you're such an excellent part of this show, we are playing it. And I'll see everyone next week. This is by Dave Gray, Babylon. See you all next week, peeps. Take care. Look after each other.
Friday night, I'm going nowhere. All the lights are changing, green to red. Turning over TV stations, situations running through my head. Looking back through time, you know it's clear that I've been blind, I've been a fool to open up my heart to all that jealousy, that bitterness, that ridicule. Saturday, I'm running wild and all the lights are changing red to green. Moving through the crowds I'm pushing, chemicals are rushing in my bloodstream. Only wish that you were here, you know I'm seeing it so clear. I've been afraid to show you how I really feel, admit to some of those bad mistakes I've made. And if you want it, come and get it, crying out loud. The love that I was giving you was never in doubt. Let go your heart, let go your head, and feel it now. Let go your heart, let go your head, and feel it now. Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. sky is fading red to blue. Kicking through the autumn leaves and wondering where it is you might be going to. Turning back for home, you know I'm feeling so alone, I can't believe. Climbing on the stair, I turn around to see you smiling there